In the last video I made on if we were in a housing bubble and if the housing market was going to crash raised an important question that I wanted to address in this video, and it is now a good time to buy a house or should you wait? I'm Angie Blanco, a realtor here in Miami, Florida with One Path Realty, and in my previous video I basically compared today's housing market to the market of 2008 to determine if another crash was likely, since it's such a trending topic and so many people want to know. And after analyzing information and comparing statistics from then and now, my opinion was that it is not likely that we'll be experiencing a housing crash. Not now and not anytime soon, for multiple reasons that you can find in that video. But with that information came a lot of heartbreak from buyers that reached out to me that were hopeful about the market crashing again and interest rates going back down and just basically having another opportunity of getting a good deal on a house, like when the market crashed in 2008. And not even that far back, but just about a year or two ago when interest rates were in the 2 and 3% as opposed to now where they're in the 5s and up. And I get it. As someone who not only sells real estate but also buys and invests, I'm right there with you all who want to get a good deal. I don't want to pay top dollar for a property or have a high interest rate or pay over an appraisal, but what's the alternative? Renting, not investing, trying to time the market and wait until prices drop, if ever. And even though these are all other options that we definitely do have, to make the best decision for ourselves regarding either buying or waiting, I think we should really dissect these other alternatives to see if they're actually a better choice for us. So let's go ahead and do that. If we were to consider renting instead of buying, then to put it really simply, we're essentially paying somebody else's mortgage and then some. Now, I understand that some people might currently be in a position where they don't really have much of a choice when it comes to this because maybe they're not ready to purchase yet. Maybe they don't have enough savings yet for a down payment and closing costs and everything else. Or maybe their credit is too low and they need some time to increase it. And all of this is okay. These are things that can be worked on and improved if you wanted to. But the reality with renting still remains as it's a payment towards another person's mortgage and very likely a little bit of profit too, because in the end, a rental property is another type of business. And knowing this about rentals, but continuing to rent is totally fine if that's your decision. But then you're making the deliberate and intentional decision to do so, to pay somebody else's mortgage instead of your own. By choosing to rent instead of buy, you also don't get the opportunity to build wealth through homeownership, which for most people is the largest contributor to their wealth because it is such a big asset and such an appreciating one at that. Now, I might be biased because I love real estate. I love its potential. I love that it's tangible. I love the stability of homeownership and what it represents, not only for the person who owns it, but for their whole family. And according to a recent survey done by the Federal Reserve, homeowners on average have a net worth 40 times greater than the average renter. That is huge. That's another thing I love.
You mean my net worth?
Rents also usually increase year over year because of inflation, the appreciating housing market, and also because of the demand for rental housing, which right now is particularly very high. A mortgage payment, on the other hand, is a set payment month after month if you have a fixed interest rate. So as rents increase, your mortgage payment doesn't, even if the value of your home increases, which it very likely will. In fact, it always has. Take a look at this graph, for example. Since 1965, the average sales price of homes has gradually increased even after the crash of 2008. So those who bought during that time of inflated prices and held on to their homes have surpassed the value that they paid even during that time. And in hindsight, yes, they probably kicked themselves because they didn't know that that crash was coming, and it also took their homes a little longer than normal to regain and surpass the value that was paid before everything came crashing down. But this brings us to two very important points in deciding whether it's a good time to buy or if you should wait. Number one is timing the market, and number two is knowing exactly how much you can comfortably afford. So number one, you can't time the market, especially in a time like now where all signs are pointing upwards. Interest rates are expected to go up and so are home prices. And because of solid reasons, unlike in the years leading up to the crash of 2008, where everything was basically based on fluff. In my previous video, I go into this at length, about how much stricter lending has gotten since the crash. A buyer truly has to qualify for a loan in order to buy. We also talk about how much buyer demand there currently is in comparison to the extreme shortage of homes for sale on the market. This is also the complete opposite of what was happening in 2008. At that time, there was an overabundance of homes for sale, too much supply, and too many buyers who didn't actually qualify, so homes were lost and values plummeted. So trying to time the market and waiting for a dip in a time like today could cost you years if prices and interest rates keep increasing as projected. Also, for the current shortage of homes for sale to catch up and level up to the amount of buyer demand could also take a very long time, since there is such a discrepancy between the two.
A very long time.
But more important than anything that I've mentioned so far is knowing exactly how much you can comfortably afford, which is point number 2. This is the most important question when deciding if now is a good time to buy or if you should wait, because the worst thing is having a mortgage payment that you can barely afford each and every month, no matter what the market is doing. And the way to avoid this is just by being really clear with yourself on how much you can afford each and every month on housing in addition to the rest of your bills. It's not difficult to do, but some buyers get carried away on trying to qualify for the maximum amount of house, not realizing how much that monthly mortgage payment will end up at. Instead, work with the payment that you know you can afford month after month, and then see what price range of homes that would put you in, whether it be single family homes, condos, or so on. You don't want to overextend yourself, because that's when it can get risky. That's partly what led to the crash of 2008. But those who bought within a price range that they could actually afford were able to ride the wave and eventually come out winning with a property worth more than what they paid for, even during those inflated times. This is the position that we want to be in, and what all buyers should strive for in any market. You want to be resilient to any ups or downs that the market brings, or that your own personal life brings, because just like we can't time the market, we also don't fully know what'll happen in our own futures. And with that being said, I'll leave all my information down in the description if you wanted to reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. And if you wanted to dive a little deeper into why I don't think we'll be experiencing a housing crash, not now and not anytime soon, then go ahead and watch this video here. Happy watching, and I will see you on the next one.